What is up? What is up, everybody? Welcome to Office Hours with Rhett and Sean. No Dave Meltzer yet. You never know. Sometimes he just jumps in and surprises us. But nevertheless, you guys who are watching from around the world are in for a super, super special treat. It's been so long, Rhett, since we've done one of these together. Haven't seen you in a while. How are things in your world?
Man, life is good, man. I'm in Qatar right now, and just got off stage yesterday at Web Summit here, seeing some clients as well. So life is good. It's warm, which is to say the least. I was in Nashville last week in the middle of that snowstorm, so I'm actually just really happy to be looking at when I look outside in the daylight. It's a nice, beautiful blue ocean, and it's warm. So
What time
life is
is it
good.
there? 10 p.m.?
Oh, it's 11. Yeah, 11:30.
Holy
So
smokes. I mean, come on. If Rhett could be on at 11:30, Dave's got to be able to jump on off of Radio Row. Gigi, hit the phones. Let's get Dave Meltzer on the show. But for now, you are watching Digital Office Hours with Rhett and Sean. And today we've got a super, super valuable and super information-packed show. We have our first guest coming up with us. He is Pete Sacco, all the way from balmy New Jersey. And Pete is here to talk to us about his brand new book, The Bridge. And I'm super excited about this concept because, listen, everybody talks about AI. I'm sure over there in Qatar, Rhett, people are talking about AI. And here's what happens when it comes to AI, everybody's concerned. And with good reason, we should be concerned because this is something that, frankly, we could talk about for the entire show. But people want to know, has AI come into our worlds to replace us? And Pete, you have some very interesting insights on how AI can help us to handle speed and optimization while we as humans continue to excel through discernment, creativity, and intentional decision making. Pete, well, first of all, welcome to the show. Second of all, give us the 30,000 foot view on your take of AI, and should we be alarmed that our human existence is about to disappear?
First of all, Sean, Rhett, thank you for having me on. And Dave, wherever you are, thank you. I'm jealous, first of all, of Qatar because I'm sitting here in 33 degrees and about 18 inches of snow here in New Jersey. And so we're not used to that either. But look, the answer is every time, every generation that has ever been a part of society has had a fundamental technology that really shaped it. This is no different. And in every time we look at it with fear, right? Going back from Gutenberg's printing press, which was going to spread heresy, but, ushered in enlightenment, all the way through, social media, which was going to rot our mind. We always look at it with fear. Even during the industrial revolutions, people broke the machines in the streets because they were afraid it was going to take their jobs. That sounds very familiar to where we are right now. And the answer is, like most things, no, it is going to allow mankind to thrive because it always has and it will. The difference is this one is different. This is fundamentally the most shaping technology that man will have ever wrought. And so therefore, what's going to happen is, yes, we are going to have the dystopic time in the next 15 years as we relearn that perhaps we were never meant to do in the world. That was not our role, right? To be our own calculator, that perhaps our role was something else. I explore that in the book, The Bridge. A little bit of context. My background is as a quantum physicist. And from quantum, I realized I was not going to be the next great physicist of the world. So I transferred to engineering. Engineering led to building data centers. So I was telling Rhett when we were in the green room before, amongst my friends, I'm 58 years old, right? Amongst my friends, they're all round and third, ready to slide into home, right? And technology is scaring the crap out of them. And here I am designing and building the data centers that are the foundational part of what's going on in building AI in the world. And I feel like I'm just getting started, right? There's no better time right now than where we are. But that being said, I've come up with this idea about when I have to explain what's happening in the world. And I'm going to start with intelligence. because intelligence has been around a long time. And I think that intelligence can be described as paradoxically polar, two opposites, like temperature. Temperature has extreme hot and extreme cold, but it's just degrees in the middle. And so on one extreme of pole of intelligence, let's call it perfect mechanical intelligence, right? The ability to calculate, optimize, schedule, the ability to figure out perfect information from perfect data. And let's remember, as a species, we've been our own calculator. From back in caveman days when we used to scratch lines into the dirt in order to count, then we created the calculator, then we created the computer, and now we've created something fundamentally different. We've created something that will perpetually be able to improve its hardware and its software and far surpass our capability to calculate. So when people get nervous, what they're getting nervous about is if we line ourselves up to continue to be the calculator and we try to out-cognition the machine, we're going to lose in mythic fashion because its ability to calculate is going to be far greater than ours. So then that leaves, well, then what is mankind's role? And my answer to that is the opposite pole. And the opposite pole to that is discernment. Discernment, the idea that we can make judgments and decisions based on little information, no information, or completely counterintuitive information. And let me give you an example as to when we've experienced this. Have we ever had a situation that we're looking at the data and the data is screaming yes, but man, our instincts are absolutely screaming no, hold up, something's wrong. That's wisdom. That's intuition. That's insight. There's some people who would say that that comes local, that our consciousness comes from our locality, our mind-body self. I'm not one of those people, right? Enter the Pete Sacco, the quantum physicist. I believe the ancient mystics were right. I believe that we are all connected to something far greater than ourselves. I like to refer that as perhaps consciousness is fundamental to the universe, and we are part of a collective consciousness. We are conscious avatars. In essence, the universe observing itself through our experiences. And when we have intuition, insight, we are connecting to something greater than ourselves. Mankind's meaning will be having the wisdom to point the machines at what problems should we be solving and why. And so I believe that's the two paradigms as that is AI. And I don't think we'll start off going willingly. I think it's going to drive us to maintain the balance in the universe is we are no longer needed to calculate. We will be needed for our ability to discern.
So Pete,
I'll pause there.
Pete, I've got to ask you this question. Then you're the first person, I was just at a tech conference this week here in Qatar and had lots of discussions about this. But you're the first person that admits there will be a dystopian period.
Oh
I think I caught you saying that.
There's no doubt. How could it not?
What does that mean, really? And what?
Well, think about it.
How do we come out of the other side of that? How do we come out of the other side of that?
For 1,000. All right. So let me answer the latter part of that. Imagine that we were going into a dangerous situation, right? But I was to absolutely guarantee you that no matter how bad, how bleak it looks at the moment, I can see the future. And the future is that we come out of this safely. The answer is you wouldn't be going into the situation with as much trepidation and as much angst as you would knowing that everything is going to be okay. You might get through it knowing that you were going to get through it unscathed. Well, look at history. Has any technology ever completely derailed man? No. The answer is every technology that we've ever begot has allowed us to flourish in ways that we've never imagined. Well, guess where we are? We are at the cusp of flourishing. And so, yes, we have to relearn something. Let's remember, for the last 1,000 years, we've identified our personal meaning by how smart we were, or we thought we were, and how much we could sell our skills in the labor market. And we're about to enter a world where how smart you think you are, and what your skills are almost going to become meaningless in the world. But I'm going to paint a picture that the end game of this is truly what every civilization has ever aspired for, a post-scarcity world. And I believe the world that we're going to live in is going to be a world where there's little crime, if you will, because there's little want, because there's little need. Every basic service from education and healthcare and things and housing and food will be at your disposal, leaving man only to create, innovate, be selfless, and be altruistic with one another. In fact, before I even get to the roadmap of dystopia, I want to say one more thing. I think the machines become so intelligent along the way that they recognize man's connection to collective consciousness is so special, so unique in the universe, as us being potentially maybe even the only sentient species, at least in our galaxy, because within our galaxy, perhaps we would have made contact already. But it's going to recognize our ability to be quantum beings collapsing some probability into the objective reality that we live out in this reality is so special that they will have to begin to explain it to us before we even fully understand it. And as a result of that, they will never be a part of, they will become self-aware, but they might never be a part of consciousness itself. And as a result, the fact that we collapse quantum into reality, they need us, and they will treat us far better than we've ever treated each other or ourselves. So that's what leaves me to say that we're all going to be okay. Now we got to talk about the problems that are going to befall us in the next few years.
Pete, this is absolutely fascinating. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, we're going to make sure, Rhett and I will make sure that the David Meltzer team reaches out to you, because we've got to have you back on more programs, plugged in with them, speaking alongside Dave and sharing. This is absolutely fascinating discussion. And I know that so many people are wanting more. You can learn more about Pete at PeteSacco.com. Right there, his name's there. Put the link up there. Check him out, especially if this is something that you have on your mind and you want to know, hey man, how can I make sure that I am managing all of this correctly? So many applications for AI. And so Pete, thank you for being a part of Office Hours, and we'll definitely have you back to continue this conversation.
I look forward, Sean. We've only scratched the surface, brother.
Of course. Fascinating stuff.
Right.
Fascinating stuff. All right, we've got so much going on here on Digital Office Hours here with Rhett Power and Sean Dill here with you. Next up, we have the amazing Thomas Rudeswick. And man, he is joining us from Maspeth Federal Savings. And listen, you know, when you say federal savings, a lot of times people are like, uh-oh, because some of us are old enough to remember the federal and savings and loan sort of crisis that happened. But listen, these community-based banks are making a huge difference in their communities and providing services for so many people. And so I'm super excited to have Thomas with us. Thomas, give us a 30,000-foot view, because when we say savings and loan, whatever pops into our minds probably is not the accurate version of savings and loans to date. So tell me what's going on at Maspeth and what you guys are doing for your community.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. This is an exciting time. Well, first of all, I'm broadcasting from our technology center here at Maspeth Federal on 69th Street in Maspeth, Queens, New York. And just as your previous guest, Peter, talked about, the weather is quite challenging here in New York as well. I'd like to be in where you guys are as well, but this is fine for us. I'm a New Yorker. I'm used to it, so it's fine. Savings and Loan Association certainly had gone through a difficult period back in the 90s, and through federal regulation, they were able to come back into the community bank picture in a very vibrant feature. Now, first of all, savings and loan associations are mutuals, which means that we don't have shareholders. We're not a public stock bank. We're actually owned by our membership. So every member here at the organization, at the association, can come to talk to me about what they want to see happen. And one of the things that they really asked me to focus on is teaching our young people how to save money. Financial education, if you all recall, it used to be a conversation at the dinner table every night. You'd sit down and with your parents, and they'd talk about your job and how much money did you make, and are you able to save some for the future and for retirement. And that conversation still happens, but I think there's more now of a focus of digital finance that really has to be focused on. And we're here as a savings and loan association, but much more on a technical level. We all recognize that the transfer of any type of wealth happens in a digital format. So today, your phone is really the bank. So we want to make sure that we're showing young people that the opportunities to save are still old-fashioned. You still have to save for your expenses. You have to save for the long-term goals and your short-term goals. So what we try to do is we'll enter into a school environment or a college campus or even in a senior adult center. We'll sit down and talk with folks to say, here are some great savings tips. Here are ways that you can just put money aside and get ready for the long-term future. So, and we're happy to be able to present that.
Wow. That's amazing. I do remember that. I do remember the 90s. Sean, you aged us all. How do savings and loans work with small businesses? I'm really curious about that as a business advisor and consultant. I see a lot of small businesses, medium-sized businesses really struggle in banking. Are there programs that you have that help small and medium enterprises through their struggles and through their managing their money and helping them?
Oh man, Rhett, it is so true that we see such a high failure rate of small businesses that we try to reach out to a business that's starting and fledging here in our community and show them some of the basics. And again, it's finding the solution that'll work for them. Every time we do any type of financial education, any type of empowerment session, we always stress for the fact that this saving solution has to be customized to the type of person that you are, the type of business that you're running, and what type of goals that you're trying to set. When we talk to young people, and most young businesses are usually run by young people. So the earlier that we can get in front of folks to give them some education is super helpful for them through their collegiate years and through their small business years and whatever career they find. So what we like to say to them is there's a metric of like a pie chart of like 50, 30, 20. 50% could be your expenses. That could be your operating expenses. That should be the merchandise you need to purchase. That could be some of the taxes that you have to pay. 30% can go towards a short-term goal. Maybe you need a new refrigerator if you're a baker, or an oven, or you need a pizza oven. We have a lot of pizza shops here in Maspeth, so pizza always comes up in the conversation. And those 20% could be a long-term goals or some type of emergency fund that you can have. So that pie chart is like a 50, 30, 20 rule, and it acts as a good benchmark for folks and small business owners to take to that, to understand that whatever income is coming in, it could be your allowance, could be your salary, it could be gross rent coming in or gross income coming in for a business. Break it down into a category so that you're prepared for immediate problems, immediate expenses, short-term goals, and then long-term goals. And that is a great way to function in life.
Thomas, I think one question that people would have, especially because when we look at Maspeth Federal Savings, even on your website, it's very community focused. What is the reach of a federal savings and loan? Can I do business with you from Florida? Can someone do business from California with you? And to wrap us up, kind of what is Maspeth super excited for in this year?
Well, first of all, we do summer concerts here at the bank. So if you're ever looking to book a show here in Maspeth, I'll set you up in the parking lot. We have a big stage. I'd be happy to have you, Sean. That would be great. What we try to do is look for opportunities where we can engage with small community institutions and non-for-profits. Rhett, you mentioned small business, but one of the other areas that small community banks like Maspeth Federal can really help with is how non-for-profits are handling their expenses and handling any of their needs on a financial basis. Maspeth Federal offers grants, we offer scholarships, we offer a connection to a community so that when someone goes into a non-for-profit, they have the right ability to put money into something that's going to be there for the long term and is helping communities. We just decided to partner with a local school, a high school here in Queens, that wanted to put together a business center. They're going to put in a Bloomberg Center with all terminals that seniors, high school seniors, would be able to gain a license to run a Bloomberg terminal. I said, well, that's great. How can we help? And we put together a $50,000 grant for the next 4 years so that we'd be able to help these folks every year. $50,000 goes to this school so they can develop this center and they can help these young people graduate with a Bloomberg license. That's what community banking is all about. That's giving back to your community. And savings and loan associations, a mutual like us, that's our mission. Our mission is to help our communities.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. You guys are doing incredible work. And maybe I'll debut. Maybe I'll learn how to be a DJ, and I'll come out and do my very first DJ set live summer concert series with Maspeth Federal.
I love it. I love it.
Amazing. I'll rock the white glasses. Thomas, thank you so much for your time. We super appreciate you. I want to encourage everyone that's watching right now, go check them out, maspethfederal.com. I gotta say, like, listen, if you have to park your money somewhere, you need a bank. You can't live without a bank. And so if you are looking for a community-based institution that has your best interests at mind, how do we know that? Thomas just said you can call him as a member and talk to him about what's going on there at the institution. So please check them out, maspethfederal.com. And likewise, Thomas, we'll make sure we get you plugged into the entire David Meltzer world. His team is going to be reaching out, and I hope to see you. Rhett and I do a lot in these events. We hope to see you very, very soon at an event.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Sean, I just want to be back behind you when you're doing. I just want to be back. You're doing your thing.
There's always those people that are shooting taking the video from behind the DJ. You could be back there. It'll be great.
I'll do that.
Oh man. Well, I have to practice. I have to even learn what the heck I'm doing. Although DJing these days, I think and I'll get with Pete. I could probably get an AI set up and just act like I'm doing it.
It's about the it's the look, man.
Yeah,
you got to have the look and the right moves, and let the AI do the rest.
That's right. All right, let's bring in Margaret Graziano, who's joining us from Keen Alignment. Margaret is the founder and CEO over at Keen Alignment. And boy, they're doing some really amazing things, and including coming down the pipeline, there is a book that is soon to release. You may have seen Margaret out speaking on various topics such as leadership, culture, and workplace reinvention audiences. And man, this is an amazing topic. And Margaret, you are joining us right there from the home of the Super Bowl. Maybe you'll see David Meltzer running around there, although I think Radio Row is actually in San Francisco, not in San Jose. But Margaret, thanks you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about Response Agility and what you guys are doing and who you guys are helping.
Yep. So we work primarily. So first of all, thank you for having me here today. We work primarily with privately owned organizations or private equity backed who are experiencing some major shift, either the external market or they have a new leadership team, but something is clogging the progress. They've got friction. And so what Response Agility is, it's the framework that we bring in to move the human system from friction to flow in organizations. New product development, ideation, like I said, new executive team. Let's say they're bringing it in a whole new office, and they've got to weave in this new entity to everything else. And so our work is done primarily through meeting with people live, taking them out for 2 or 3 days into a retreat, but non-retreat setting where they get to really talk about everything that is in the way. And it's done in a manner where there's no blaming, shaming, finger pointing. What people say is it's life-changing. It impacts them in their work life and in their home life. So that's what we do.
Well, sorry for the phone ringing there, but that was my community bank calling. Um,
That's
um,
the bell.
Margaret, tell me about the new book. I
So,
want to hear
well,
it.
first of all, I'll tell you about the old book. This book came out about 2 years ago, Ignite Culture. And that gives the framework for how do you create an environment of emergence where people can respond no matter what's going on in the environment, and they can come together as one human system. The new book, Align Culture, is about the inner workings of how you get the human system or the people in your organization to work together as a aligned unit. So it's how do you hire the right people? How do you onboard them? How do you have meetings? How are your workflows designed? So Ignite Culture is context, Align Culture is content.
Oh, I love
And
this.
many people have
Mm.
reached out and said, yeah, we get the theory, but how the heck do we do it? How do
Yeah,
we
how do you
attract the right
how do you
people? How do we
operationalize
make
that? Yeah.
sure we're bringing in people who actually care about what we do and can execute? And my former career for 20 years was in recruiting. So I broke open all of my domain experience and have been hammering hard on this Align Culture for the last year. It should be out March 1st.
Fantastic. I love this topic. You know, my company is called the Adaptable Entrepreneur because in my field in healthcare, I believe that the only way that as human beings that we get sick is when our human bodies fail to adapt to its environment, either internal or external. But I also believe that in business, the very same thing applies, is that the only way that we struggle in business is when we fail to adapt to our environment, either external or internal. Having said that, I know that adaptation in the business side and the body side, your body just does it, thankfully, because a lot of us would probably mess it up, myself included. And with that said, it is extremely hard in business because we get stuck in our ways. This is how we've done it. And now the market changed, or the consumeristic behavior or analysis or criteria has changed, or people want to work remotely, and so now the dynamics change. What are some of the biggest sticking points that you find where we're not being very agile and you have to come in and help them because it's just something that we cannot solve just sort of, consciously with our intuition?
So it's really
Great
interesting
question.
that you asked this question. This is really what we do. What gets in the way is people's behavior all the time. We think it's that department or that guy, but it's never one person. Because let's say you do have somebody who's short-tempered, and then you have a whole group of people as that person gets aggressive, get defensive, or get passive. And so everybody's sort of colluding unconsciously with each other. And so what we do when we bring people together, first of all, what response agility is being able to stand in the moment of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, confusion, chaos, and ambiguity, and do what's the next right thing. And so we get real with people, probably like you do too. And what is the image that you're portraying to the world? And then what's really going on inside you? The insecurity, the frustration, the fear, like, oh my gosh, AI is going to have me lose my job. So they're going like this. Yeah, we'll do AI, boss. But behind the boss's back, they're going, no way am I doing that. So we work with the CXO team and the key leadership team to what is it that you're saying you are and you want, and then what's really showing up. I have CEOs who second guess themselves, or they get wishy-washy, or they talk too much, or they get angry and they disingratiate people to them. And so we're closing the gap between who we want to be and who we are. But we don't stop with the CXO team. We trickle this down to every key department. And what my book says, what my website says, is it's transformation, organizational transformation from the inside out. Each person has to get responsible for what they're bringing. And if they're leading with fear and following with fear, you're never going to be emergent or agile because you're in self-protection mode. And as you know from your work, the brain doesn't allow you to create when you're defending. You're saving your life, not innovating. Anyway, don't get me started.
How can people get a copy of the book when it comes out?
Well, right now my old book is on Amazon. The new book will be on Amazon. My website is margaretgraziano.com. And there is a section for book. And fundamentally, both books have a lot of content about this human system and response agility and how we need to bring our highest and best to work, and then share that with everybody we know, because energy is contagious for better or worse.
Margaret, you were a phenomenal clean-up hitter today. Thanks
Yeah.
for bringing the energy to close us out here on Office Hours. Rhett and I super appreciate your time. And just like with everyone else, of course, this is absolutely fascinating stuff. We've had no overlap, so we've got to make sure that we get you back plugged in with the David Meltzer world. And I look forward to seeing you out there on the road somewhere, or maybe out there in San Jose when the Meltzer show comes to town, which is there now, but the next time, because Rhett and I aren't there.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Be sure you check out Margaret at Keen Alignment, KEEN alignment.com, or at her name, margaretgraziano.com. I just love that concept, because listen, if we're not able to be agile, if we're not able to be adaptable, we're just going to, with the pace that the world is evolving and changing,
Yeah.
we're just going to just de-evolve ourselves right out of business. Rhett, you know the deal. We like to wrap up Office Hours with your takeaway. I know it's getting late. I don't know if you've kept yourself on our time zone or if you're like ready to go to bed, but drop us some wisdom, Rhett.
I loved I love this conversation about AI and being agile and what the future is going to look like. I think you just said it. Like, if you don't learn to see around the corners, and if you don't, I think today the leadership requires us to be agile, and it requires us to be empathetic. It requires us to be adaptive, to be resilient, and if I just think that's just a prerequisite for leadership today, and I think it's like you said, if you're not going to survive this sort of seminal moment that we're in, right? I mean, we're in this moment, and I don't know if it'll be dystopian or not, but I do think there's massive change coming, and I think all these guests just sort of illustrate that. Sort of illustrate how important it is, I think, to be thinking about these things, not burying your head in the sand, I guess, is what I'd say.
I love today's show because my favorite word, and you said it, is adaptability. And, that to me is what life is all about. As I was saying earlier, whether we're adapting to AI or we're adapting to changes in, understanding that it's a digital currency now, no matter how you cut it. I mean, we don't even have pennies anymore. So like, it's not going to be long before we don't have nickels and dimes and quarters or even paper bills. Everything is going to be digital. I love how you said your money is in your phone too, because it's so true. Like, you tap, and then there's no real tangible money anymore. And then lastly, of course, with Margaret wrapping us up and teaching us how all of that applies in our own business. And I know that the majority of us watching today, it's because we have a business interest. That's the common thread that binds us in this David Meltzer community. So phenomenal show. Rhett, I, as always, appreciate your time. Your time is extremely valuable. And anytime I get to spend some time with you, I absolutely love it.
Same, brother. Same. I mean, you're a rock star, man. I love it.
All right, folks,
love
this wraps up episode number 856 of Digital Office Hours here with David Meltzer. Shout out to Gigi. She is the producer behind the scenes. You know, when all the things move around and she gets the websites up and the names right. Plus that, she coordinates the guests, gets all of this going. Gigi, thank you so much. Rhett, thank you so much. And every single one of you, we love and appreciate you. We will see you next time.
Yeah.